You know, hope was something that Charles Fillmore didn't have a high regard for. But I see hope really as, although it's not one of the 12 powers, hope is the beginning of something. It's the seed of something far greater. It's the seed that gives life to faith. It's like being in a cave for so long, you haven't seen the light, you see this little glimmer of light. That's what hope is. That's what hope is. Hope says there, even just a small little bit of it, just a mustard seed. And you see that and you think, there is something out there. There is something out there. You see, the trick is to do that in the darkness. To do that in the darkness before you see that little glimmer of light. To keep that light going within when you can't see it with your two eyes. Perhaps you can see it with a single eye that Jesus talked about. Perhaps you can see that light that burns within you, the Christ light. The Christ light. It always burns within you, whether you know it or not. It cannot be extinguished. So in those times when you're struggling and you can't see that light, if you could just hold on to hope. Hope. Because that seed, that small seed of hope, although it doesn't look like anything, if you take a seed in your hand and you feel the weight of 1,000 harvests beneath it, 1,000 harvests. Jesus used the seed in his parables over and over. Because you see, that's the power of our thought. It's a seed. It's a seed. The thought, the beliefs, our conceptions, the perception of how we see the world is a seed. It's going to grow up. It's going to grow up. And it's going to manifest in our world. It's going to manifest in our world. What are you nurturing? What are you nurturing? That's what you have to ask yourself. Because one of these days, you can try and hide what you're nurturing for a long, long time. You can blame it on someone else outside of you. But one of these days, like a seed that's planted in the front yard of your house and watered every day, that thing is going to become so big and so undeniable that no longer can you play those games. So you have to ask yourself, what seeds am I planting? What seeds of faith? Because I've said before, we all have an abundance of faith. But what is the subject of our faith? Where is your focus?
Amen.
Are you focused on something outside of yourself? And then when it doesn't work out for you, you get brokenhearted because you've attached your identity, your value, and your source to that? Open up any page of the Old Testament and you'll see that story. The ancient Israelites always got bored with their life, saw something flashy, and they thought that was the source of their good. Idolatry. That's what Moses called it. Idolatry. Do not have any other gods before my face. Whatever you are focused on is the object of your faith, and you are powerful. Whether you realize it or not, even when you say you're not powerful, you're powerful. What happens when you say you're not powerful? What you've created is whatever you focused on. If you focused yourself to be a weak person that has no effect on your life, that everything in your life, all your circumstances, are the product of somebody outside of you, it's because if only you would do something different, I would be happier. If only you would, we've all been there, right? Because we're confused, we're lost, we're at our last. You know, we don't have any answers. It's because we become caught up in mistrusting God without even knowing it. This temptation that the Bible talks about over and over. The temptation to make something outside of you your God. And by God, I mean your source of good. So you say to yourself, why isn't this working out the way I planned? Why isn't this working out the way I planned? But we go back to hope. We go back to hope where it all starts. In your daily thoughts, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? You know, a lot of times we don't understand that, you know, the thought is an expression of an idea. Which is beyond that is a belief. We have a belief about ourselves. We have a belief about life. We have a belief about God. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. As Proverbs tells us, Proverbs 18:21. Not that which entereth into a man, said Jesus, into a man's mouth defiles him, but that which proceeds from his mouth is that which defiles him. He said that in response to the apostles that wanted to know what they should eat. It's not what goes into your mouth, it's what comes out of your mouth.
Yes.
I have seen so much filth and defiling of other human beings. Not only with this political thing that's going on, which doesn't matter a bit, but what's more important is between people doing that to each other. Demonizing each other instead of loving your neighbor as yourself. Where is your faith focused? Because wherever it is, that seed will grow up. My word will not be mocked. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall come back fulfilled. This is what you should be reminding yourself of. Your word, even the idle ones. I'm just joking. Even the idle ones. In Matthew, Jesus says, and I say unto you that every idle word that man shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by the words thou shalt be condemned. Now we're not talking about a day of judgment off in the future that the people knocking on your door tell you about for the last 100 years is coming tomorrow. We're talking about every single day is the day of judgment. Because the words that you speak have power. Amen. They have power in your life. You may think that you're affecting someone else's life, but no one comes to the Father except through me. If I tell myself that has power over me, what somebody else says about me, who gave it permission? Except through me.
That's right.
No one comes to the Father except through me. I have made the choice, whether I want to deny it or not. I have made the choice whether or not I'm going to adopt that as who I am. So you ask yourself, is that really what I want to do? Is that really who I believe that I am? Because every idle word, as Jesus says, has power. Overlooking the matter of speech is like driving a car with your brakes on. You can do that, but it's kind of senseless, right? But that's what we do. We may feel good about ourselves and have good thoughts about each other here, and then go home and turn on the other world. And just let that just defile our consciousness. But believe me, every word, every thought, every idea that you have has power. You have manifested your entire world. You have done that. You have done that. And this isn't to place blame. As Jesus said, I have come that you might have life more abundantly. Jesus told us, I am the way, the truth, and the life, so that we can understand that we can also have the power to change our world, to do the things, these and greater things, as our brother Jesus told us. The creative power of the spoken word. Sometimes we see demonstrations of it, and sometimes we don't. So we think it just comes at certain times, because there's this from conception to birth. We have this gestation period where what's going on in the unseen is there's an idea that's developing. It hasn't been manifest yet, and that's why in Hebrews 11:1 it says that the faith is the substance of things not as hoped for, but the evidence of things not seen. You see, that not seen part is what we always get concerned about. We always get nervous about. Where's my good? Where's my good? This isn't McDonald's. You can't go up and demand something and just have it come out like that. What we are waiting for is already there. It's already there. It's the unseen. The reality of what we're waiting for is the faith itself. Well, we're looking at the birth of that. The testimony of how our faith is the manifestation of what goes on in our world. It may be financial abundance. It might be happiness in relationships. It might be so many different things in our life that we value, things that we give meaning to, that we could say make our life abundant and affluent. It's those things right there that we look for. But what Paul's trying to tell us here in his letter to the Hebrews is that the reality of what you're looking for is in the faith itself. It's in the faith itself. And how do we do that? How do we do that? Trust.
Yes, faith.
Trust. People say, I have faith. But do you have faith if you don't trust in God? That's the kind of trust that yields you your highest and best good. Having trust in the government, in politicians, those things. How many times are we going to get slapped in the face and still thinks that's the source of our good? Seriously. God is my source. God is my source. Together. God is my source. God is my source. Over and over, the Bible tells us about the creative power of Logos. In John 1, in the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word made itself manifest and dwelt among us. That's the spoken power of the Word. The spoken power of the Word creates according to our intention. What is it that we intend? It isn't just the word itself, is it? It's the intention behind the word. It's what I believe about myself. It's how I see myself. It's the I am image. Therefore, do not put into words that which you do not want to see manifested in your life. Just don't do it. If you think that words are idle, if you think that the things that you say, the slogans that you say, and those little phrases mean nothing, check them against your reality. Check them against the circumstances in your life.
Amen.
And you'll see direct evidence of that. A good rule of thumb is, let something good be said. Let something of the Logos, the God principle, be said to keep the creative flow. So when you're speaking your words, ask yourself, what would Jesus say? What would Jesus say about this situation? Even if you don't say it out loud, what you say is the words that you speak to yourself are just as powerful. You know, science has done studies on that, and they found out that recalling in your memory and bringing things to mind are just as powerful as the actual experience itself. What are you imagining? What are you imaging in? Because that is part of the Logos. It isn't just the word, it's the concepts that you entertain within yourself. Whatsoever you ask in prayer, Jesus says, you will receive if you have faith. You know, one day when we go along and when I started off in New Thought, in the way, as I call it, is I went from my old way of praying, which was beseeching God. God, please help me. As if